Hey everyone, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight aspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Sabrina Runbeck. She is a Fractional Chief Strategy and Operations Officer who helps early stage health tech founders turn early traction into lasting momentum. With over 15 years in healthcare and the creator of PulsePoint Path, she equips growth strategy companies with the clarity, systems, and strategic support they need to scale sustainably. How are you doing today, Sabrina?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. I was excited to have you here. I was on your show yesterday or whenever this goes out. You have a great show. I really enjoyed it and was excited to get you on here because there's folks out there that need to know you. But to start off, where are you located? Where are you calling?
I would say I'm all over the place, but home base is Houston. I feel like I'm traveling so much that I rarely get to see friends and be home for more than a week at a time.
Well, if you are home, have you been to Houston? Have you been in the Houston area for a while, or are you newer to it?
Yeah, I've been here for almost 10 years. I moved down here after grad school, worked in New Jersey for a little bit, and then moved out here. My background started career in cardiothoracic surgeries, and therefore being Houston, one of the biggest medical center in the world. So it was a good move.
Okay. Well, let's say you've been around, Houston, you're not going anywhere and you have some friends coming into town to visit you. Where are you going? What are you doing? And what's for dinner?
Depending on what people want to eat, there's so many different culture. It's also considered one of the most culturally diverse city. There's just plenty of places that if you want a relaxation, I'll take people more to that spa type. Not sure if people ever gone to Korean spots, but you can hang out there. You can eat and you can drink, and there's different heat rooms, saunas, a soak bath. And if people really wanted to do eating, there's so many good places. And I think Michelin now is start to come to Houston. We have plenty of James Beers Award type of places. Of course, you can also get your chef's table tasting, right? Those omasakes and then, of course, our meals as well. As sometimes the best thing could be just hole in the wall this Thai places that you're just like, oh, really? It's in a gas station, but it's actually amazing.
There's something about those hole in the wall places. It's the more run down that it looks, that means that they've been spending all their time focusing on the food. So it's going to be good. It doesn't look like it, but it's going to be. So there's something to that. So awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you're doing?
We are a strategy consultant firm at PulsePoint Path. I was someone who has been in medicine for all these years, being in clinical medicine, surgical, and I just really burned out. I realized when I start expanding into what can we do, not just waiting for the patient to come into our door, but having bigger impact. That means it has to be solutions that's scalable. Can be as simple as when people get discharged, how they have the proper transitional care at home, being able to not be so painful, or is that pain even okay, right? Is pain normal? Or actually it's a sign of you need to go to the emergency room because a blood clot, or you are taking too much of your water pills and then your blood pressure is dropping. So we start thinking about what other solutions out there can help both connect to the patient, getting them safer, getting them better care, also help protecting the clinical staff because we're always seeing more people than we can possibly have time for, right? And that's why the culture of in healthcare burned out is almost like everyone has gone through it in somehow. So when I step into that stage of running events, speaking, hosting my own podcast, turn that into TV show, game shows, then I start connecting with more and more people in that advisory board member consulting world to see what does that mean for us to all help this innovation to get somewhere, right? Whether it's we're fundraising, we're getting them to have a better go-to-market, better visibility, but we all do it in a different length, right? And for you being a big connector is putting the right people together. And for some of us, it is that how do you speak to the people when they are the right people? And you don't want to miss out those opportunity, right? So there are steps and stages. So what we figure out is that we have to look at things in that multidimensional way. And there's never one problem is solved one way, right? And there's sometimes it really is a better way, and then sometimes it's more torturous way, and it just depends on what path you want to get there. Now, I'm the type of person who's great at seeing big picture and figure out the shortest destination to get to. So that's the passion where we start talking with many other advisors in the similar field and put things together, because we know even you talk to someone who are, especially when we mention a fractional role, is that when you're hiring someone who's super experienced, typically that's at least $200,000 a year salary. And when these startup companies that are small, they're barely just making an end because they're putting more revenue back into their company, optimizing their product services and continue to improve. They don't have those luxury to wait for the next COO, CEO, CMO to be onboarded. So that's the culture of fractional advisory start coming out to the play to help people to think about how do you pay people a minimum but still get the high level care. And the shift has been on another level that we brought is, instead of just finding that one or two or three individual, we're going to give you the whole entire slew of support that's needed. Otherwise, we continue to be building our empire, building our enterprise instead of on solid concrete, right? Setting up the right foundation, ask the right people the right question. We tend to just ask anybody for help. That also means we're building our walls on top of sand, right? Eventually, you're going to start realizing, oh, that's why I'm not scaling. That's why I'm not growing as fast as I can, despite how much effort we put in. And that's usually the trend that we're seeing, is that most of the startups and most entrepreneurs don't mind putting in the hard work. What they mind is, despite all the hard work, all the money, all the time away from family, and they don't see the impact they truly can create in the speed that they can make things for happening.
What is it that you love most about what you're doing now?
The puzzle pieces. I have a background in neuroscience, music, and what I see is I'm puzzling from the creative side of myself, and as well as medicine plus public health, is seeing both what the community need, what the individual company that they need. They're building that community of solutions, and how do they turn on our creative side to become unique, to become competitive. And when we think about competitive, it's not even just our process, our molecule, our technology is better than other. It's actually how you present yourself into something people gravitate to. And that's why you see some companies doesn't even have that much clinical trials or data points. They're raising a lot more funding or more ahead than some other companies who are supposedly have a lot back end and experts on their team, but they're not yet at a higher stage as they wish they can be.
When you're looking at the people that you best serve, what does your average client look like? Or what are some of the pain points that somebody might be going through that if they're dealing with X, Y, or Z, you're the person they should be talking to?
There's a split. Myself, as an individual fractional strategist officer, I tend to work a little bit earlier stage versus PulsePoint. Typically, we work with growth phase people who already generate a couple $1 million, and now they're seeing, hey, I can make this work. I clearly there's something going on that I'm contributing. When they get stuck is that when you're below 3 million, when you work with those people in a smaller capacity, it's actually getting into the foundation of the first 8 steps, which are number one, how do you define your mission vision statement? We have seen a lot of time, even a few years into it, people still changing that because they didn't quite align all the co-founder and then their senior leadership into what do we want this company to do. And what we see is when that's not solidified, you constantly have different visions between people, and therefore your purpose of what you want to generate, what you want to create is different. So then you can't settle down on a operational workflow that makes sense for you or how you wanted to take this company to the next level. And then the second step becomes what people most time skip, and then they come back to like, I'm growing too fast. So what that really means is they haven't truly realized what's the human capital into their company. Who are the true mavericks, right? Breaking the norm. Who are the person who take those visionaries ideas, make sense of it, strategize it, making some kind of sound plan. And then who's the person who take the plan and truly implement and have people who either is backing implement or become a promoter to really get people others to buy in, and either that buy-ins become a strategic partner, a client, or investor that see the vision, see the plan, not just what could be, but actually step by step, right? And it's like the people behind what need to be done. Then you start thinking about, I think all of us have trouble sometimes, is what I call that level 5 buyer, right? These people who are know their problem, they have the urgency to buy, and they have the wow factors that you really want to do business with, as well as they see you as having wow factors of trust, believe the result that you can bring, right? It's definitely a mutual respect. Many people sometimes will ask is, Sabrina, how do I convince them, right? Society is not ready for this. Most people in the public don't believe in that. Well, that means you're talking to the wrong people, right? If you have to convince the majority, then you haven't found your level 5 people yet. Why waste time with the people that's not going to engage? And you have to spend a lot more money, energy, and resources on that, but find your own tribe, right? And in my TED talk, I even talk about this, all of the 3 myths that I spoke about. The third one is stop feeling like there are these gatekeepers blocking you from entering a community. How can you build your own empowered ecosystem and attract people to you? And a lot of time that go into people's go-to-market strategy. But then the downfall has been doing so much that they're testing 5 marketing campaign, they're doing this ad account, that things. Oh, we're going to conference, we're meeting everyone. But volume isn't really the solution. It's the quality of people, quality of connection. And when you are speaking with the right people, are you getting that people to lean in, to actually want to have a second meeting with you, or still feel like you're chasing them? Or you're having so much conversation, people are feeling like you're doing great thing, but they're not actually going to support you, help you, or write a check for you. In this sense, we are getting chaotic, so busy doing so much stuff, but actually not creating the result.
What does your average power partner look like? What are other industries, professionals that you synergize really well with, that you can collaborate with and refer back and forth?
That is one of the most important questions I think everyone needed to think about. One of our best way to do business is about strategic authority building. When we talk about that, for us, still stay in, we love to help healthcare innovation companies. And that means other people who already share the similar pool. So that can be accountings that also support physician practices, ACOs, technology companies. But when we're seeing if they don't truly have similar pools, I usually ask my partners, are you already working 50% of the time with people who are actively creating healthcare solutions? And if it's not, then you know your referral rate is going to be really low. And that's also one of the reasons we created PulsePoint Path, is that we all are seeing different angle of solutions. So if people need to hire someone, then yes, we have a collective what we call leadership maximizer to truly see the multiple dimension of what these leaders need and what are missing role. Then we can partner with the headhunters because we have a plan, we have a 90-day success of how internally this person can perform. Then it's much easier for the headhunter to go after. Same thing as when we have people in marketing, because everybody do marketing is different. So when we are able to be the strategic diagnostic and vetting the right company, then we can partner up with people who are perhaps you're great at lead sourcing, and then other people is great at reputation management versus different person is really good on branding. You start thinking about what stage and what are the companies that they have already working with. Doesn't really quite matter of what sub niche, but it does matter of that most of us are working with similar clientele, then the relationship become a lot more smoother and more touch points and more ongoing.
What advice would you give to a new or aspiring entrepreneur?
The newer ones, go back to my first question, is figuring out there's are two different way of thinking about what the company mission and goals are. One is you have to understand yourself. What does that mean for you to be a servant leader right now? Who are you as an individual? And then how is this company both can parallelly represent you, but it shouldn't be all you. And so the struggle for most people creating that company is that perhaps they're multi-passionate. They're meant to create multiple company, or they're meant to help multiple company. But at that point, if each of the company has a different purpose and drive, how do you make sure they're actually supporting each other and building on top of each other? And that is number one. Otherwise, we see a lot of people that come together as excited to create a new solution. And then 6 months, a year down the road, they had to go their separate ways. And it's tough for company formation, especially if you have an investor there to clean up your cap table.
Okay. And why you? What sets what you're doing apart from everybody else out there that might be doing something similar?
We are all about speed. For most people, then tell me, Sabrina, you can build things for me that I would have spent hundreds of $1,000s and then took a year to do. And our activation lab, we are building from fundamental of purpose to your brand and messaging, who you need to speak with, and the entire client acquisition journey within a day. Because it's the power of the more thinking that you have a paralysis analysis when a founder, especially in earlier stage, when you try to get all these help from every different opinion, it's actually very difficult for you to make the decision and knowing what's right for you. So we become very intentional about doing the right thing, speaking the right way that matches who you're meant to be. And if you have partner, we bring on together to see how you work better together and what are the additional missing elements that you need to have, because it's easy for people just to build a plan, right? But if the wrong people behind the plan, you're not going to do it, there's no consistency, then there's no result. So we're all about putting people, putting leaders at the center and making sure that you feel good and you feel authentic. And then what you're truly building is what you're meant to be.
I know when it comes to this, we could go down all the rabbit holes. You're clearly super knowledgeable about all of this stuff, and we could talk for hours, I imagine, about any one subject. But in general, is there anything that I missed or that I failed to ask that you wanted to add?
I love to support women leaders for sure. My TED Talk is on the 3% problem. Why women-led companies is so hard. Do see that funding and growth in women-led companies is seems to be more difficult. But there's also the dichotomy is we don't have enough women to stand up in those spots, or is that we haven't pushed ourselves to get even more women investors to support these founders. So I'm always about running. We have a Venture Vitality, which is an investor only network that we come together on a monthly basis, especially those who care about healthcare technology, fintech, mental health, biotech, to support each other. And then also share with each other the great deals that we all care to back and make some positive movements continuously, because we know all the political changes, international, and seems like getting funding, getting going in the initial phase is harder. So we want to make sure people are putting their best foot forward so they can be able to create that positive impact they want it to be, but with the right people and the right strategy behind them, so they're not doing and trying all of the things and then feeling like they're barely making it even.
Well, for those that have more questions that want to get to know you, what's the best way they reach you? Where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
I am very active on LinkedIn, so go find me, Sabrina Runbeck, running backward, but with the E, so it's easy to find my name. And well, we have a LinkedIn newsletter on there. I have a podcast, Provider's Edge, as well as Health Tech Growth. Is for anybody who wanted to have a conversation, book a call. I love brainstorm sessions, and even it's not us, we have a pretty decent network as well as what Anthony has. Happy to introduce yourself to the right resources.
If anybody would like to get a hold of Sabrina, I'm going to put all that in the show notes so it's super easy to find. Do it. Have the conversation. She's awesome. Give her podcast a listen. Where can they find that and what's it named?
Provider's Edge is on all the syndicated platform. And then we also, for anybody in the technology space, learn more about investment. And then you can go to find Health Tech Growth as the second podcast.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely check it out. I was a guest. I did phenomenal. No, I'm just joking. But absolutely reach out and have the conversation. She's awesome. She's the exact same in a one-to-one as she is on here, so don't be shy. If somebody would like to get a hold of me, you can visit me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to her newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Sabrina. If you were somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us. Let's all go have an awesome day and grow our circles, all right?